welcome to this week's Weather Studio Live. We're here every Friday at 12:15, so thanks for joining us. I'm here again. My name's Anna Criswick, a presenter and meteorologist here at the Met Office, and I'm here with...
I'm Aidan McGibbon. You're here all month, aren't you?
I'm here, yeah, it feels like I'm going to be here forever. But next week I'm sat on your side, so I won't have to do the quiz. No, I won't have to create the quiz. I'll get to do the quiz. And we've not done a Weather Studio Live together in a while.
No.
Not since before
Should
Christmas,
be fun.
I think.
That time that you did a really difficult quiz and I looked a bit silly. Yeah.
Oh, did I? Yeah, there's some chatter. Apparently people don't like my quizzes.
Can't imagine why.
And so I felt the pressure writing this one. Yeah, maybe they're a little bit tricky. But I've got another fun question at the end. I like to do a bit more of a fun question towards the end. So you've got that to look forward to.
Right. Very exciting.
Yeah. Been up to much this week?
Yeah, well, it's been busy talking about next week's easterly winds and explaining where they've come from, why the pattern has changed. If you want much more detail on that, I covered it in the very short time of 47 minutes in this week's deep dive. So yeah, whiz across to there after this. You've got a spare hour.
Yeah, doing a lunch break.
So I explained basically that the Scandinavian high pressure that we're getting this weekend, well, that could be traced back to a storm that hit Hawaii during last week, and that basically threw up all sorts of energy into the atmosphere and wobbled the jet stream. And so, yeah, I went into detail about that. I could have just said it in one sentence like I just did there. It would have saved us all 47 minutes.
There you go, you don't even need to watch it now.
And yeah, then you also did a video on Scandinavian highs.
I did, yes. I've not been presenting the weather as much this week, but we've done a few extra bits, including a video on Scandinavian highs, describing what they are, some kind of past examples as well. That's going to go out on Saturday, so make sure you check that one out. It's a really good one. We prepped it last minute because we knew we were under the influence of a Scandinavian high this week, so definitely make sure you keep an eye out for that for Saturday morning. So, yeah, brilliant. I'm interested to hear what you're going to say about the weather this week in any detail. So, yeah, it's going to be a good one. Yeah,
it's tricky. Actually, Alex did a great analysis in the 10-day trend on Wednesday about why this easterly isn't a classic kind of beast from the east, an easterly that would potentially deliver at this time of year sub-zero temperatures widely and disruptive snow, why we're not expecting that next week. And I'll cover a little bit of that in a moment as well, just in case you missed it and just to set the scene. But yeah, whenever we get an easterly or whenever we get hints of an easterly in this country, there's a lot of excitement on social media and in the headlines. But yeah, there are lots of different flavours of easterly, and not all of them can be accurately described as beasts from the east. Yes,
that's exactly right. It really depends on whereabouts that air's coming from, doesn't it, and the kind of lead up to it. So we'll dive into that in a moment. Firstly, though, we did have a couple of questions from last week's live, which we missed, so I'm going to go over those now. So one of them was from Ray the Nation. Good question, actually. Why can sometimes it be raining but not detected by our radar?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it causes all sorts of headaches with meteorologists because you are predicting rain or at least drizzle, for example, in certain situations, and you can't necessarily see it. Sometimes it will be picked up by observations, so you know it's happening. So weather stations will pick it up, or actual observers, and we've got an amateur network of observers as well, the Weather Observations website, and so that will give us a better idea as well of where it's raining and where it's not raining. The radar isn't the only tool in our toolkit, but the reason that certain types of precipitation aren't captured by the radar, specifically drizzle, is because the drizzle droplets are so small. That's one reason, so it's more difficult for the radar beams to capture that. Another reason is that the clouds that produce drizzle tend to be very low, so it's only a quite narrow slice of the atmosphere in the lowest levels that is affected by that drizzle in order for that radar beam to sample. And a third reason is that there was a third reason. I've forgotten it now.
Low cloud, the radar beams.
Hold on.
I've forgotten it as well.
We'll come back to you.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you with that third reason.
Yeah, it's quite a tricky one because not that long ago I was forecasting for the aviation services, and drizzle can actually give quite poor visibility at times, and you can't see it on the radar, but the observations are telling you it's drizzling, so sometimes it's quite a tricky thing.
Speed of movement. That's the one. That's the third reason. It's not falling as fast through the atmosphere. It's so light that it can be just blown around itself.
Floats around,
so,
yeah. There we go.
3 reasons.
I knew that. I just wanted to see if you could remember.
It's when I stopped thinking about it that my brain discovered where it's located. It's quite a simple operation going on up here. Anyway.
Yeah, so another question as well from AY Miss Mason, I think. So what are the factors you look at to determine whether a high pressure system at this time of year is going to bring us some gloom or sunshine? I'm assuming that stemmed from, a couple of days ago we had quite a lot of sunshine, didn't we? And now it's turned quite cloudy, but it's still quite chilly.
Yeah.
Can you explain that one?
And we've had a few gloomy highs this winter, but they're not that uncommon in the winter. And in fact, this kind of setup where we've got high pressure moving into Scandinavia and more of a continental feed of weather. In the spring, in the summer, you'd more likely expect sunshine and warmth as well. But at this time of year, you do get areas of low clouds and mist trapped in a temperature inversion because the sun is so weak that it's just not powerful enough to raise the temperature at the surface so that it overcomes that temperature inversion. So you get this slice of air right at the surface which is colder than the air above it. And in the summer that might happen in the morning and you get some patchy fog around, but the sun will heat up that slice of air that's colder at the surface, make it buoyant, it will rise into the drier air above and mix with that drier air above, and the clouds depart during the morning or the fog clears. But in the winter, well, it just doesn't happen as effectively. The sun is weak, it's not up for as long, and so you don't get that buoyancy in the lower layers, so that it moves into the drier air above and mixes, and that low cloud layer in the lowest layers sticks around. So yeah, this time of year, it's particularly prevalent with areas of high pressure. In terms of how you can tell which high pressure systems are likely to be cloudy and which are not, it's all about where they're located and which air they're bringing in, which air they're sampling. So, if you've got a high pressure out to the west of the UK, then you can get a lot of cloud coming in over the top of it to affect northwestern parts of the country, and it can be sunnier in the southeast. But in this situation, you've got high pressure to the east of the UK, so the cloud is being drawn in from the near continent, and that's why it's going to be particularly cloudy across southeastern parts of the UK over the next few days. And sunniest skies will be western Scotland, particularly where you've got that cloud kind of blocked by the mountains of central Scotland.
Yeah, and to be fair, don't they? They do normally end up with all the cloud and rain up towards the northwest of the country, so we've got to allow them some sunshine from time to time. We've had some questions about the weather, so should we go through that, Aidan? For example, Gordy B. Gordon, driving from Bournemouth to Worcester. Would this afternoon or tomorrow be better weather-wise? Shall we run through the weather for the week and see if we can give him an idea of when's best to travel? Let's
take a look at this overview first of all, and you can see it split into 4 there. We've got the general situation, Friday afternoon, time recording. There's the synoptic situation, the pressure chart, and then we've got the weather going on here. So just as a quick snapshot to compare the two afternoons, we've got the wind and we've got the temperatures on the right here. As you can see, the easterly winds are already starting to arrive because we've got high pressure drifting off into Scandinavia now after beautiful sunny skies for many of us yesterday. But we've also got increasingly showery weather moving into southern parts of the UK. So yeah, it's nothing particularly disruptive if you're travelling in the south, just some cold rain here and there. A bit of a cold easterly breeze, temperatures of 3 or 4 Celsius. Fast forwarding to Saturday, and what you can see is a similar situation effectively, a bit more cloud moving northwestwards across the country as this area of low pressure moves up from the south. And we've still got a general easterly feed of weather and temperatures actually a little bit higher across the south and the east on Saturday. We're going to see some milder air start to move in from the southeast, but in general, if you're travelling, well, it's, what was it, Worcester to?
Yeah, Bournemouth to Worcester.
Bournemouth to Worcester. It looks like there'll be a lot of clouds, some outbreaks of rain here and there, but either way, both afternoons look pretty similar. Yeah. Just going to cover the bigger picture, first of all, and as I said, the high pressure that we're now seeing establish itself over Scandinavia is a result of the jet stream becoming highly buckled as a result of stuff that went on over the Pacific a week ago. This time last week, there was a particularly powerful storm that went through Hawaii, and that inputted a lot of energy into the atmosphere and led to this buckling of the jet stream. Of course, it takes some days to have consequences in our part of the world, but there is a chain of events that was set off, and we are now seeing the result of that. Take a look at this powerful jet stream that's well to the north of the UK. And what I want to do here, actually, if I go forward to Saturday, and Alex covered this a little bit in his 10-day trend in terms of why this particular easterly isn't expected to be that cold, certainly at first, through the weekend and into next week. And there are two reasons. One is to do with the direction of the winds, and I'm going to draw some arrows on here. There's actually a lot of, one of the main talking points in terms of the whole globe is how warm it's going to be as a result of the shift in the jet stream in some places. Most particularly, that jet stream is drawing up all this very mild air. Follow these arrows around this area of low pressure. We've got all this very mild air going into north parts of Norway, into parts of Russia, and the Arctic, and some parts of the Arctic 20 degrees above average for the time of year. Of course, that still means temperatures below freezing, but remarkably warm for the time of year because of all this warmth going north. So you'll notice that these warm arrows, they're actually coming into parts of western Russia and some parts of Scandinavia as well, although it is turning colder around the south of this high now, with this cold air coming in here. But that doesn't quite reach the UK. We've got more of a messy setup. Yeah, there's a bit of a chilly airflow coming in like that on Saturday into, say, northern parts of the UK. But there's also some milder air being wrapped up in this area of low pressure. And so it's not a classic easterly. A classic easterly would, of course, that would deliver us widespread sub-zero temperatures would be like this. And this is what happened when we saw the beast from the east. I drew up this comparison with a graphic that we put out, Beast from the East, 2018. Who remembers this? This graphic shows just how cold the air was in Russia. Look at that, -11 in Moscow. But here's a comparison with the current situation. 0 in Moscow over the next few days. 1 Celsius there in Belarus. 4 in Berlin, whilst with the Beast from the East it was sub-zero. So you can see this cold air coming through. Previous graphic, of course, having previous colour scales with, I've tried to make a comparison here like for like, but what you can see is a marked difference between the temperatures over the continent, over Europe and western parts of Russia from the Beast from the East 2018 and the current situation, and those temperatures reflecting that. And one of the reasons for that is the current state, what we saw in January, of temperatures across much of the region. Now, the UK actually had a colder than average January. It was mean temperature 0.9 Celsius below average. But the UK's only a small area, and compared with the globe, doesn't necessarily reflect global temperatures, which were the highest on record for January, 1.75 Celsius above pre-industrial numbers. Meanwhile, this is from Copernicus, and it shows the European temperatures through January. And what you can see here, there's some blues. This is the surface air temperatures, some blues over the UK. So yeah, colder than average. But for most of Europe, some deep reds, and particularly for Eastern Europe into Western Russia. So if we were to get a proper easterly and not a muddled southeasterly, if we were to get the winds straight from Western Russia, well, the air there hasn't been that cold recently, well above average, and for Europe as a whole, it was 2.5 degrees above the 1991 to 2020 average. So a remarkably mild month for the European area, and that's reflected in this snow cover anomalies. And what I just want to draw your attention to is there's the UK, this is Europe, and these big red squares over here, this is from Rutgers, and it's showing negative snow cover anomalies. So actually very little snow to the east of us, very little cold air, which you can see I'll just pull up this map of temperatures across Europe. So going into the weekend, for example, these are the maximum temperatures expected each day. -1 for Moscow. It's not that cold for Moscow in the middle of February. -1 there across parts of Eastern Europe. And then, you know, the air that we're actually sampling as we go into the weekend is coming up from here. It's going to feel chilly in the wind. It is going to feel quite chilly. But those temperatures aren't going to be that far from average for the time of year. In fact, we can see, I've clicked on the wrong one there, we can see how they are different from average. This is Friday. The colour here indicating, well, somewhere between 0 and 3 degrees below average. Likewise for Saturday, some eastern parts of the UK around average with the wind coming in from the east and bringing a slightly milder air for a time. Sunday, not far from average as far as maximum temperatures are concerned. Monday's a little bit colder once again, but nothing exceptional. Certainly not a beast from the east. But the wind chill will make it feel quite raw, I think. These are the wind chill temperatures for Friday afternoon, -1, -2 Celsius on the coast. As I say, it does increase slightly through the weekend. So this is Saturday afternoon. We've got 2s to 4s for many. And then into Sunday, 2s to 4s, wind chill temperatures. These are the actual temperatures on the thermometer, 6 and 7. And finally, just to talk about the chance of snow, because there is a chance of snow as that low pressure moves up. We're already seeing some showers across southern parts of the UK at the moment, and they'll only increase in coverage over the next few hours. So going through the rest of Friday, and this is by the time we get to 6 p.m, and you can see this extent of more persistent precipitation across the southern half of the UK and playing that forward. A lot of it is blue, but there are some whites coming through. There are some whites coming through. The whites are tending to pick out the hills, so yeah, there could be a patch or two of snow over the Chilterns, over the Downs, over the Welsh mountains more especially. A few centimetres could build up, but it does depend. It's very messy. It depends on the freezing levels. The freezing levels, of course, is the height of the atmosphere in which the temperature drops below freezing. And as a general rule of thumb, you can subtract about 200 metres from that height. So 200 metres below that, you might expect snow. But any lower than that, it depends on how heavy the precipitation is. The precipitation moving through during the evening isn't that heavy, and it's also eventually going to drag in this milder air. See these green colours indicating that the freezing level will be rising around the area of low pressure to the south. But still, around 200 metres across parts of Wales, the Midlands and the southwest, going into tonight, could see some patches of snow, lying snow in places by tomorrow morning, by Saturday morning, mostly over hills. You wouldn't rule out the odd patch at lower levels, mostly above around 100, 200 metres. But the strongest signal for relatively deep snow, well, I say deep, a few centimetres, would be over the mountains of South Wales, basically. And then going into the weekend, really, just to go back to this and give a brief overview, that system, once it brings the milder air in from the southeast, tends to fizzle out somewhat. A lot of cloud across England and Wales and some rain or sleet at times on Saturday. Feeling cold, but as I mentioned, temperatures aren't that far from average. Sunday's a similar sort of situation. We've still got this easterly feed, but again, a lot of low cloud, a lot of outbreaks of rain and sleet, but yeah, nothing particularly wintry because actually temperatures are going slightly above today's values into the weekend before colder air returns on Monday, and that's when we could see again some rain, sleet and hill snow, especially across northern parts of England and eastern Scotland.
So not another beast from the east then, Aidan? The beast with no teeth? Not
in the next few days, but keep watching, because by the end of next week the computer models do that, and there are a few things to discuss, and I'll go into the details of that a little bit later on.
Yeah, we'll save that. We'll save the best bit for the end. You've spoken about snow and some sleet. We do have a question actually from Gil Swift, who says that there's snow here in Hampshire, or it looks like it's snowing, but it's bouncing off the walls like tiny, fine hailstones. So she's wondering if you could explain the difference between hail and snow.
That might be graupel, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than hail. Well, it could be called small hail. That's one thing, one way that people describe it, rather than proper hail. The proper, you know, if it hit you, it would hurt, kind of balls of ice. So proper hail, first of all, is caused by often very large cumulonimbus clouds, because you get frozen particles falling and then being pushed back up into the cloud upwards by the updrafts, and as that happens they accumulate another layer of ice, come back down again, and then the updrafts carry them up. And so progressively, as these balls of ice circulate in the cumulonimbus cloud, they just gain layer and layer and layer of ice. The stronger the updrafts, the more they do that, the bigger the hail. So that's proper hail. We haven't got really cumulonimbus clouds out there at the moment. I doubt there's proper hail, but you can get the softer version, graupel, in air that's kind of around freezing and clouds that are quite low, because you get these frozen ice particles, again, kind of bouncing around in the cloud and forming, sometimes it's partially melted snow that then accumulates ice as it bounces around in the cloud before falling out of the cloud into the air. But it can be a bit like polystyrene balls, can't it? So that's graupel. Graupel. In other parts of the world, they'll call it sleet. So in America, that would be called sleet. In the UK, sleet is a mix of rain and snow.
Yeah, maybe send us a picture or a video. We can confirm confirm your sighting. Cool. Okay, let's move on to some more questions. So Gordy B. Gordon, we've got a rugby fan here. What's the weather going to be for the Six Nations, England versus France tomorrow, which we now know is in Twickenham, and also Italy versus Wales? Are they going to see any snow for their rugby game?
No snow in either Twickenham or in Rome. And actually, it's looking, let's go to Saturday, it's looking quite similar in both Italy and London. It's looking generally grey skies. Here's the cloud and the pressure patterns. So I've already talked about how there'll be a lot of low cloud across the southeast. Could see some brightness developing, actually. I think the Twickenham game, is a little bit later in the afternoon, and if that's the case, could be some sunshine reappearing in the southeast to slightly...
Yes, 4:45.
Yeah, so by the end of the afternoon, as the sun's starting to go down, some clear spells starting to mix in. Mostly dry, actually, for Twickenham. Now, for the Italy-Wales game, it's looking, here we go, fairly unsettled. We've got some showery rain moving in from the west, and it looks like that's going to pick up through the afternoon. So, yeah, more likely to get showery rain in Rome than in Twickenham tomorrow. So,
okay, bit of a muddier game. Let's have a look further north. Margaret Towler's asking, what's it going to be like for Aberdeen? Now, she's not said a day. So, should we look over the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's put this back on. Actually, let's put this one on, and then we can have a snapshot over the next few days. So this shows 2 p.m, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Bigger picture across the UK, cloud and rain and wind. And Aberdeen, well, doesn't fare that well in an easterly if you don't want a lot of grey skies and showery rain. There will be some brighter interludes. Saturday afternoon, for example, there's some cloud breaks there. But increasingly into next week with that easterly, it's going to be feeling cold in the wind. Temperatures won't be that much lower than average, but feeling cold in the wind, particularly if you're near the coast, and a lot of low cloud, increasingly so, spells of rain, basically. If you're a bit higher up, you might see some snow. Yeah,
some flurries. And a couple of last questions, and then I think we're going to talk a little bit about what Claire's been up to. So a couple of questions about the West Midlands. So Weather Elliott wants to know if there'll be snow for the North West Midlands, 220 metres above sea level tonight or tomorrow. And there's another question from Anonymous Articulator. What's the likelihood there'll be significant disruption?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, the second one's easy enough.
Yeah.
No signs of significant disruption over the next few days. There aren't any weather warnings at the moment either, so we're not expecting any significant disruption. Of course, it doesn't take much snow in this country to cause significant disruption. There'll be a bit of snow this evening and overnight, but mostly we're thinking patchy and mostly over hills. Now, for the Northwest Midlands, 20 metres above sea level, it's unlikely that you'll get any kind of lying snow. The rain that's moving in through the rest of the day could be a bit sleety, but that's probably as exciting as it will get for the time being.
Yeah, so not snowman, not snowman worthy.
No, hold fire on the sledge.
Okay, okay, I'll do one more question then. This is a good one from Julie M. My daughter is getting married next Saturday in the Preston Lancs area. Is it likely to be dry? Please, please, can it be dry?
Saturday. You're
getting married outside?
You're really testing us.
I want to know.
Yeah, we get quite a few, well in advance forecast requests for weddings, don't we? Because it's considered really important ahead of time, but I would say that people enjoy it whatever the weather.
Yeah.
And my sister's a wedding photographer. She says the best weather for wedding photographs, for flattering photographs, is gloomy skies.
Oh, to hide all the wrinkles and blemishes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think the bright sunshine causes that kind of photo. Anyway, it's probably too early to say for sure, I'm afraid. I'm afraid it is. I'll be going through the medium range forecast in a bit and talking about why there are uncertainties for the end of next week and into the weekend, and why we can't say for sure what's going to happen at this stage.
Yes, lovely. Thanks, Aidan. Shall we take a look at what Claire's been doing with our climate conversations? I think we've got a little clip of Claire here, so we'll show that to you now.
On Climate Conversations this month, we're discussing carbon dioxide. Alex Birkhill talks to climate scientist Professor Richard Betts and learns more about his latest scientific paper on predicted levels of carbon dioxide in 2025. Professor Betts also goes into detail about the influence of El Niño on emissions last year and how trees are responding to increasing levels of CO2 in the atmosphere. Also, some great advice about how to reduce your own carbon footprint.
Most of us know that we want to be reducing our levels of emissions, but what are your top tips for doing that?
So one way you can do that personally is to make different choices on transport. For example, this is something I'm very passionate about. A lot of people will drive a lot, of course, and often that's needed. But in many cases, you can choose public transport or cycle or walk and so on. And often I found it's easier than you might think. I've not had a car myself for 5 years, although it was a little bit of investment initially. I'm healthier than I've ever been, fitter and so on. So that's one way you can do that.
And I will be shedding light on reasons why global temperatures peaked at record levels last year. So join Alex and I on Climate Conversations, out now on the Met Office YouTube channel.
Yeah, really interesting and important watch as well. Richard Betts knows his stuff when it comes to CO2 in the atmosphere. Shall we have a quiz?
I think we should do a quiz. Let's go for it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Right.
Are you ready?
What have you got for me this week?
For my quiz.
We did, actually, before I forget, we floated the idea of doing a quiz on Mr. Alex Deakin. He couldn't make it today, surprisingly, because it's his birthday. So
it is his birthday.
Very happy birthday to weather legend Alex Deakin. I'm surprised he booked annual leave today and didn't want to do the
I know. I mean, I'm sure he's watching, sat there with a bit of birthday cake and a cup of tea.
What better way?
He never misses it.
Better
every
way
week.
to spend his birthday?
Yeah, I actually do have a birthday question, but it's not about Alex's birthday. It's about my own.
Oh, right. Yeah, typical.
I'm not making. Alex isn't here. I'm here, so we're talking about my birthday. But that's not yet. My first question is about mean sea level pressure. So we're going to put the questions in the chat. We're going to get some polls running. So tell us what you reckon. And then Aidan's going to send me his answers through Teams on my laptop. And then we'll see who gets the most right. Have you ever got 5 out of 5?
I did, but it was when we were practicing this. So it was only shown to our team.
Oh, okay.
And it was on the history of weather. Alex gave me a quiz on that. You'll have to take my word for it.
Doesn't count.
Have to take my word for it.
Okay, question number 1. Here we go. So provisionally, we've recorded some new February mean sea level pressure site records in the northeast of England and the far southeast of Scotland. Now, you're not allowed to actually look on Teams for these because the answer might be there.
I'm not.
For example, Bulmer's previous record was 1,045.5 hectopascals. But what is the new record that was recorded yesterday?
There are multiple choice?
No, you just got to tell me. Okay, so answer A is 1046.1.
Okay.
B, 1047.1. Or C, 1048.1. Do you remember? We were chatting about this yesterday. So it might be a little bit of a guess for you at home, because I don't think we've put that information out there. But we were definitely talking about it internally.
I don't remember that
Oh, you don't
conversation,
remember?
but
Oh.
I've guessed.
Maybe it wasn't
guessed.
you I was speaking about it too. Okay, so what do you guys reckon at home? I'm going to have a look at some of your answers. Oh, loads of happy birthday Alex messages. That's nice.
Oh, and Mr. Chef says, my wife always says she can't get enough of her daily deacon.
Oh, I think that's
we all
a good
need
thing.
a daily deacon. Daily dose of
Daily
deacon.
deacon, yeah. Oh, that's nice. He'll like that. He'll like that. Right, some guesses coming in. Retro Macintosh says 1047.4, which I don't think was an option. I think they were all 0.1. But anyway, Alfie Law says 1047.4, and he also misses Alex. Donald Barron said no pressure. I like that. I love that. Love a bit of weather sense of humour.
Very good.
Okay, have you sent me your answer?
Yes, I
I can
have.
see it flashing. Right,
Complete
lovely.
guess.
Okay, another question. Question 2. During a particularly cold spell as a result of a Scandinavian high setup, the AA reported that it was its busiest day in its 105-year history. But which event did they report this in? Was it A, February 2008, B, January 2009, or C, December 2010?
Oh, hang on. The thing I thought was going to come up didn't. Okay.
Oh, so yeah, it's kind of a two-part question. You need to know whether we were under a Scandinavian high setup during these months.
Can you repeat the options?
Yes. A, February 2008, January 2009, and December 2010.
Okay.
Something significant happened with all those dates. I didn't just think.
I would
put them out there
say
now.
that we didn't have a Scandinavian high in February 2008. Just guessing. But I know the other two we probably did, maybe.
Think back.
But wasn't December 2010, it was a very cold month, obviously. Wasn't that more of a northerly wind that we had and a high pressure of Greenland? Maybe I'll go with, what was it? What was the other option? I'm trying to see the options on the poll there. There we go. January 2009.
Gabrielle's asking what the AA is. Do you know what AA actually stands for?
Automobile Association?
Yeah, something like that. It's the recovery service. The people, if you break down, they're the people that I call, at least. The AA service. Donald Barron said, I think December 2010 was pretty chilly.
Correct. Coldest December on record.
Yeah. Red Dragon 414 also guessing December 2010. Cool, okay, let's move on from that one then. So, question number 3. As we've already mentioned, today is Alex Deacon's birthday. But next week, on February the 12th, it's my birthday.
Oh, well, you
forget.
kept that quiet.
Yeah. I also share this day with other significant events, but which one does not occur on this day? Does not occur. So, A, the February snow moon reaching its peak illumination. B, Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Or C, the Mercury retrograde begins. So which one
Okay.
does not occur next week? Apart from my birthday. Greatest day of the year.
What was the first one?
So I'll go through the answers again. So A was the February snow moon reaching its peak illumination. B, Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Or C, the Mercury retrograde begins. That happens around 3 to 4 times a year. This would be the first
Okay, I
one.
think the snow moon does happen because it's about half the moon at the moment, isn't it? So we're halfway there. And it is the snow moon, isn't it, this month? The Mercury
Who's to say?
retrograde, I don't know. And Abraham Lincoln's birthday, sounds like you just made that up to add it in there.
That's probably a fact I would have said before.
Okay.
Oh, Cy Cries guessing Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Richard Brown guessing Mercury retrograde. 43% of people guessing Mercury retrograde. Yeah. A few people going for Mercury retrograde. Right, have you popped your guess in?
I have, yes.
Okay, let us have a look at the next question, which I have lost. Here they go. Right, which one did I just do? Oh, here we go. Question 4.
Your birthday.
The one all about me. Question 4. Where does the word February stem from? Bit random. I was running low on ideas. Where does the word February stem from? Is it A, from the Old English word for snow month? Is it B, the Roman festival of purification? Or C, from the Roman god of love, Cupid? What do you think? I didn't know this.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be English for snow month. I think the Roman thing, isn't it? Is it? Is that what the month? Most of the months are Roman
Is it?
or Greek
Is it?
origins. So then, and I think the god of love. I think that's a tricky one to throw me off because we've got Valentine's Day.
That's true.
But then I discovered the other day that Valentine's Day has its origins with a Roman festival. That there was quite a well, I won't go into the details, but yeah, you can imagine. Yeah. And then I think the Christian Church or the Catholic Church wanted to replace it with something a little bit more PG and came up with a Saints' Day to celebrate love.
Okay.
I might be wrong. That's just, yeah.
Yeah, my birthday's pretty close to Valentine's Day, so don't know. Have you? Oh, that's your answer there, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Okay, so we've got the final question of the quiz, and it's not multiple choice because it is a riddle.
Oh God.
It's a good one. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. So let's see. I'll say it in my most poetic voice. So, I can drift, lift, swirl and fall, but only in the winter or not at all. I can get big, but I'm usually small. I can appear when the weather is either wild or tame. I have a million brothers and sisters, but we never look the same. I lost it at the end. You started typing before I'd finished. Do you know the answer?
It's kind of easy, that one. So I'm confident I've got one right.
Okay.
Did you make up that rhyme?
No, I wish I did, but no. No, I did not have enough time to think of a riddle. Yeah, I like to do something a little bit different at the end, and
Love
I
it.
was struggling for questions. Yeah. So, yeah, let's see if anyone else. Oh, a few people guessing snowflakes. Let's see, snowflake, snowflake, snowflake. Yeah, maybe it was a little bit too easy, that one. Would you say the other questions before? Do you think they were quite tricky?
I'm gonna save that for my 8-year-old daughter. It might be her kind of level.
Yeah. I'll send it to you. How well do you think you've done?
I think I've got one right.
One right. I threw you off with a non-multiple choice question because that's what you did to me. It was a question full of revenge. Right, shall we go through the answers?
Yeah.
Let us have a look. So, question 1 was about mean sea level pressure, hitting a new record in the northeast of England and southeast of Scotland. And the question was about Bulmer's new record, the previous one being 1045.5. And you went for 1046.1. And that was correct.
Oh.
Well
what
done.
A surprise. That must have registered somehow yesterday.
Yeah. We were chatting about it in a Teams chat yesterday, which is why I thought you might know it. Did anyone else get that right? Let's say that 27% of you were also correct. Okay.
Well done.
Okay. That was quite a tricky one, to be fair. That was a tricky one to start with. The next question, that was around the cold spell as a result of Scandinavian high setup. The AA reporting it was its busiest day in 105-year history. What did you put?
I put January 2009 because there was some disruptive snow that month, and there was disruptive snow in December 2010.
Yeah.
But I thought December 2010, I don't think we had a Scandinavian high.
So it was a Scandinavian high before, and then it moved closer to the middle of January. Then it went to more of an Arctic flow.
Okay.
So that was actually the answer, December 2010.
Oh.
Yeah, now I think back, that did probably throw you off, actually. But yeah, it was more of a Scandinavian setup, and then we moved to more of an Arctic flow. So we had like 2 big spells of cold weather and snow, and that's why it was particularly hazardous that year. So yeah, December 2010. How many of you guys got that right? So
I think most people did.
Yeah, so I threw off a little bit because we also had a Scandinavian high in February 2009, but the answer was February 2008. And also, what was the other one? Oh no, I've changed the dates, so nothing actually happened in January 2009. But maybe you were thinking of February 2009 for the cold spell.
January 2010, actually, that was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well there we go.
I got that wrong for multiple reasons. Okay.
There we go. Tricky question. Okay, so the third question was about February the 12th. Which event did not occur on this date? So what did you go for? Let's have a look.
Mercury retrograde.
Retrograde, if I could say it. And that is correct.
Ooh.
I do share a birthday with Abraham Lincoln. Isn't that
Congratulations.
interesting?
Yeah.
I can't believe I haven't told you that already.
How old will he be?
Oh gosh, goodness knows. Probably older than me. Same age as Deeks, no?
Oh, on his birthday as well.
Let's hope he's not watching. Cool, okay, so then we had the riddle, which I think most people got right looking at the answers. And it was a snowflake. Drift, lift, swirl and fall. Only in the winter or not at all. Can get big or small. Appear when the weather is either wild or tame. Has a million brothers and sisters but never look the same.
Lovely.
Snowflake. You have to tell us if your daughter gets that one right. So how many was that then that you got right? That was pretty good for you, wasn't it?
3 out of 5.
1, 2. Oh yes. I think, have I done all of them?
Hang on.
Did I miss one?
Our colleague Rich has spotted that you've only given 4 answers. Is that right?
Oh, I missed one. I do apologise. The word for February.
That's the one.
I was going to say, I was like, it looks like you've got more right than that. Oh, I do apologise.
Oh, I might get 4.
Yeah, you might get 4.
go.
Sorry, I missed a question. Yeah, the other question 4, was what does the word February, or where does the word February stem from? So was it an Old English word for snow month? Was it the Roman festival of purification?
That's what I put.
Or was it the Roman god of love, Cupid? And it was the Roman festival of purification.
Yes.
Comes from the Latin word Februaris, which is named after the Roman festival Febua, a purification ritual. It's supposed to cleanse people of sin and ensure a fresh start to the year, because February was the last month of the Roman calendar, which was 10 months, I think. And then the Georgian calendar became 12 months, so it ended up at the beginning of the year instead.
Quite a few people got 4 out of 5, like me. Well done to Kieran Bryant, Ames, Sandra Batyi, Aegon Braganca. Apologies for
they move so quickly as well, they're hard to read.
But yeah, lots of you did very well. Lisa as well. Well done.
Did anyone get
well
5? Cry says, woohoo! 3 out of 5.
Haven't seen a Rube Dog got 5. Congratulations, Rube Dog.
We had an interesting question earlier, Aidan. Let me see if I can quickly find it. Oh yes, it was from Jay Nixon asking about, can you explain why the models are chopping and changing between the extreme cold to mild Atlantic air? Does PV, so positive vorticity, and the MJO play a part in these models struggling to look beyond the 5 days? Now, I know you wanted to chat a little bit about the MJO.
Yeah, the PV, that could be positive vorticity, or could be the polar vortex.
Oh yeah, polar vortex.
Which is also relevant looking ahead. And actually, this is tied into a question from Weather Elliott, who's just asked, he's more stated, I think the beast will be unleashed around the 20th of February based on the large GFS ensembles going for it. Well, we'll see. But there is a lot of uncertainty for later next week, as I was talking about earlier. And I just want to pull up these graphics here, which are quite useful for summarising the many, many different computer model simulations, more than 250 computer model simulations. Each of these simulations by the Met Office computer gets assigned to a certain weather pattern, and then we can see from this probability chart for each day going out to the next couple of weeks the proportion of those computer simulations that are assigned to different types of weather patterns, which are of course colour coded here. Now the reds tend to suggest higher pressure is influencing the UK. It doesn't mean that higher pressure is going to be slap bang on top of the UK, or indeed it doesn't mean that the weather is going to be entirely settled. As we're seeing this weekend, there will be some rain and sleet around. But here's how things are shaping out next week. We've got two shades of red that are dominating on this graphic for next week. The first shade of red relates to a Scandinavian high type pattern, but the kind of Scandinavian high that I was talking about earlier, where you've got high pressure over Denmark and you've got this southeasterly feed of winds. So yeah, if I put on the temperature anomaly, you'll see that it's a little colder than average, but nothing exceptionally cold. There's that very mild air that I mentioned as well for northern parts of Scandinavia. There's another scenario for next week, and that is a colder easterly feed. Now, what I suspect will happen is because approximately half of the probabilities are going for the southeasterly, approximately half are going for the easterly. And remember, these temperature anomalies aren't exactly what next week's wind direction would bring. This is more based on historical temperatures that we could expect in this kind of weather pattern. And as I mentioned earlier, the air to the east of the UK isn't particularly cold at the moment. So even if we had winds directly from the east through next week, they wouldn't perhaps deliver such cold anomalies there that we're seeing on this graphic. But what I'm getting at is that there are two basic options going into next week. One is that we'd have a south to southeasterly and more of the same of what we're getting through the weekend. Feeling chilly, grey skies, rain and sleet through next week. Another option, which becomes a little bit more likely as the week goes on, is a bit more of an easterly, so perhaps a bit colder, some wintry showers around eastern parts, but again a mixture, probably because the air upstream isn't that cold, of rain and sleet. Now for really cold air, you'd need that high pressure to be centred over perhaps the north of Norway, not over Denmark, not over, say, the south of Norway, but over the north of Norway. That would drag in very cold air from Russia, and we're not seeing that through next week. But then the models diverge significantly at the end of next week and into the following weekend. As you can see, this is mid-February. The blues there start to make an appearance, and there are lots more options in terms of the reds as well, different permutations of the high pressure there coming through. And if I just switch through to the three most likely weather patterns for Saturday the 15th of Feb. So for that lady who was asking about a wedding, you can see there are three relatively different weather patterns coming through. Now, one is that we'd have more of an easterly wind across the UK, some wintry showers in the east. That's slightly more likely at this stage. But then there's another option that we'd have low pressure coming in from the southwest, and this one's similar. We'd have a southerly wind. Temperature anomalies not that great, but still feeling relatively chilly, increasingly cloudy, perhaps some rain coming into the west at times as well. So there's two paths that the models take a route on from the middle of February, from that weekend. One brings a colder easterly to the UK, and one starts to see the influence of low pressure coming in from the west, a southerly at first, perhaps some rain in the west, and increasingly turning unsettled, increasingly turning milder. If I fast forward a week, this is Saturday the 22nd of February. As you can see, it's milder for all three of the most likely patterns. We've got low pressure in charge. So there's something that's happening from the fairly weak easterlies that we've got through next week, nothing particularly cold, through to the milder, more unsettled southwesterlies that we often revert to in the UK, that are more likely towards the end of February. And in the interim, around the middle of the month, some computer models are going for a proper cold easterly, A lot of them, though, are going for milder, more unsettled weather, and it's that transition period. And that does come back to the question that chap asked about the MJO and the polar vortex. I've not got time to go into the details on those at the moment, but the MJO basically is an enhancement of the tropical rainfall, and this enhanced tropical rainfall tends to move around the globe in an oscillation that takes around 30 to 60 days. And when that enhanced tropical rainfall is in the Pacific, it can throw all sorts of energy into the atmosphere, buckle the jet stream, and allow more of a blocking pattern to persist or strengthen. And so what I'm talking about there is allow that Scandinavian high to strengthen and allow the easterlies to either continue or to strengthen. So that's one option if you had enhanced tropical rainfall in the Pacific. But meanwhile, the polar vortex, which is this circulation of winds in the stratosphere above the North Pole, that's expected to weaken slightly next week and then become stronger again, and that can allow the Atlantic weather to return. So it's a battle between what we call these teleconnections. We're expecting the enhanced tropical rainfall to arrive in the Pacific over the next few days, which could promote the Scandinavian high to last for a bit longer around the middle of February and perhaps deliver us some colder weather. But at the same time, that polar vortex is expected to encourage the Atlantic weather to return. And so it's about which one of those influences on the UK's weather is stronger. And they're not the only two influences, there are other influences. So that's where it gets a bit messy. That's why the computer models are throwing up all sorts of uncertainties for the middle of February. But we'll be watching it very closely here. We'll keep you updated.
We will be watching, yes. I'm sure we'll be talking about it through next week. And we could probably talk about it all afternoon, Aidan, but it's coming up to 1:10, so
whoops.
Maybe we should leave it there. So feel free to come sit back down. I just also want to say hi to Sam. Apparently she watches here every week, so big shout out to Sam, just down the road from here in Kilmington. Apparently she's a big weather nerd like us, so I'm sure she really enjoyed your explanations there. And please make sure you like this video. That means we know you like it and we can carry on doing videos like this. And make sure, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to our channel as well, so we can keep giving you videos like these, more evergreen videos. Once again, on Saturday, keep an eye out for our videos around Scandinavian highs. And thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our Weather Studio Live. We'll be back next week. I'm back next week. I think it's Alex Burkhill next week. Me and Alex are back again, and I won't be doing the quiz. If you're not a fan of my quizzes, I'll be taking one of Alex's quizzes.
I enjoyed this week's.
Oh, good. Oh,
so
good.
Thank
okay,
you very much.
That's at least one person then. So yeah, thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next week again, Friday, 12:15. Hope you have a lovely weekend.
Bye-bye.